You know that feeling when you have something really important coming up or something you really look forward to. It could be a deadline at work or a trip or something like that. And you kind of worry about, what if I get sick? Or you're just out meeting people who blow their noses, cough and sneeze, and you're a bit worried about catching something, getting infected. That sucks, right? Going around worrying like that is just awful. And this course is about helping you get rid of that worry. You have two goals here. The first is to build your level of health and resiliency so you no longer get sick. What used to take you over the threshold of developing a cold, for example, no longer shows up on your radar. And the second is to get rid of all the stress, the worry, the anxiety. What if I get sick? What if I have to cancel this? And that is a byproduct of actually seeing the results of a really good immune system, seeing that you're not affected anymore. What makes other people sick or having the flu or whatever doesn't show up on your radar. It doesn't register. It doesn't take you across that threshold. And when you have that, when you see that, your belief will start to change and you will build that certainty, that confidence in your body, in your health, in your immune system, that you can handle basically everything. Now, this course is practical. It's implementation based. So I will lay out principles and strategies here that you can take and implement in your life. But if you don't do that, you will not see any results. And this is not a course where I go in depth on what the immune system is, how it works and so on. If you're interested in that and want that information, I suggest you just go on YouTube and search for it. There are a ton of really good explanatory videos that go in detail on how it works, what it is and so on. But that's not needed to make it work really effectively. So I will not focus on that here, okay? And this is my point of view based on almost 2 decades of research, experiments, coaching and helping other people build better health. But if something doesn't resonate with you, just ignore that. Apply and implement everything that you find useful and just discard the rest. First off, there are no magic bullets. There are no quick fixes that actually work. You can't just, I'm gonna drink this lemon-infused ginger tea and expect that to actually have an effect. It doesn't work. So instead, what we want to do here is focus on the highest return principles and strategies to actually boost our immune system long term. And the first principle is that our immune system, when we are healthy, it's actually very, very, very efficient. So there is no need to artificially inflate the immune system because it's not working well enough. The reason we think that is that the level of the standard is so low nowadays. People's immune systems are pretty messed up because people are so unhealthy that we don't have very many references for people with highly functional immune systems and health in general. You can think of the body as a machine. A machine doesn't work unless the parts are maintained well and well oiled, right? So the difference between a mechanical system and a biological system, like a human being, an animal or whatever, is that mechanical systems, they break down with use. Whereas biological systems, they break down if we don't use them. If we are sedentary, we get worse, right? So we need exercise and movement to actually stay in shape and have the machinery oiled. I hope that makes sense. So our job becomes to build a body that fires on all cylinders. A body that's strong, resilient, robust, a well-oiled human machine, if you will. Oiling the machinery is also important because your immune system is not the only way for the body to defend against unwanted bacteria and microbes. We have physical barriers like the skin, the mucus in the lungs, and we have chemical barriers like stomach acid and antibacterial enzymes in our tears and saliva that all get affected by how well our body is working in general. Another byproduct is that you will not only be healthy, you will actually feel very healthy and look very healthy if you worry about the whole system. And before we dive into the different topics here, I just want to give you a summary. So this is the rundown, the most important things. Reduce chronic stress, improve your attitude, get better sleep, get some sunlight, and reduce inflammation in your body through diet and exercise. We're going to work on both the physical side and the mental and emotional side of this. But we're starting with the physical for a very simple reason. We want to create some evidence. We want to improve something visible and get some evidence for our minds to actually have a reason to change our beliefs, our certainty about our bodies. I hope that makes sense. So everything here feeds off of everything else. There is a synergy effect, and the mental, emotional side is just as important, if not more important, than the physical. But we're starting with the physical to get even more momentum and get some clear, visible evidence when we move into the mental to make that easier. I hope that makes sense. So let's get going with the physical part. And the first one is nutrition. This is a really complex topic. It's really hard to say that something is going to work for everybody because we're so different. We're different genetically, and we're different. Our environments have shaped us differently as well. Like what we've been eating and how we've been living for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 decades has an effect on what we can tolerate today. It has affected our genetics as well by turning on and off certain genes. So it's really hard to say that something is going to work for everyone. But it's not that hard to say what's not working for anyone. And that's the way we're eating today, especially in the West. If you look at the States, 88% of the population are metabolically unhealthy. So something has to change here. And just as an example, if you look around for nutrition advice, everywhere we look, we get fed the same narrative that fruit and vegetables are really, really good for everyone, uncategorically. And the one problem with that is that that load of fiber is not very helpful for people who already suffer from digestive issues. In fact, I'd argue that a lot of people develop digestive problems because they consume too much fiber. There is a reason diets like the GAPS diet that focuses on helping people like heal their guts and their digestion just cuts out all the fiber. You can look that up. I'll link it below as well in the resources. It's called the GAPS diet, and it's very beneficial for people who need to heal their gut, who have a messed up digestion and are very intolerant to a lot of things. So why do people keep peddling that kind of narrative, even though it's not always true? A lot of it is just the fear of deviating from the norm. This is the safe position to have. Nobody's going to question you if you say that fruit and vegetables are nutritious and healthy and we should focus on that. We all know that, right? So this is a safe position to take. You don't have to be scared of losing your job, credibility, losing your income and so on. Unfortunately, that's the position we're in today. We have to take this into our own hands and just try and experiment ourselves. Find out what works for us. And to be able to do that, we need to start with an open mind and just basically start from a clean slate, ignoring everything we've heard, and just find out what makes sense for me. Does this resonate with me? Well, I'll go try that. And just don't accept things at face value from people. I don't care who it is. Don't listen to me. Verify for yourself. Test for yourself. Does this make sense? Does it work for me? Fine. If not, do something else. So that's kind of the starting point here. But to reduce the time and the energy spent testing, we can follow some principles and guidelines to cut that time short and really test intelligently. A couple of principles here. Number one, eating should energize you. At least it should not be draining. It should not drain your energy at all. So if you get a slump of energy after you've eaten, then you've eaten the wrong things for you. You also want to look at how your digestion feels when you eat after you've eaten. If it's working a lot, then you're probably eating the wrong things. If you get a lot of gas, if it feels strained in any way, you're probably eating the wrong things. Ideally, your digestion should not even be felt. It should just like work there in the background. Like you don't feel your heart, do you? You don't feel that working. But for some reason we accept that, oh, well, our digestion is going to take a lot of energy and we're going to have this kind of slump or crash after we eat, and, you know, maybe feel the need for a nap an hour after eating or so. That's not really how it's supposed to be. The key principle when it comes to nutrition is to focus on metabolic health. If we can build that and restore our metabolic function, then everything else will take care of itself. So how do we do that? 1, eat real foods. Cut out processed crap, all ready-made foods, things like that. Just focus on real foods. I don't care what you eat, if you're plant heavy or meat heavy. As I said, everybody's different and we thrive on different things, but make sure it's real food you're putting into your body. Number 2, focus on nutritional density. The most nutritious foods are organ foods, like brain, liver, heart, things of that nature. And I get that not everybody can have access to these foods or can or want to eat them, and that's fine. And I'll share some supplementary ideas further down here. But those are the main 2 principles. In addition to that, we want to lower inflammation in our body. Chronic inflammation is a huge issue. And the main culprit there is seed oils, vegetable oils, but seed oils in particular. So we want to cut those out as much as we can. And number 4, focus on gut health. And the easiest way to do that is by cutting out sugar. Everything else here will contribute, but cutting out sugar will have the most dramatic and immediate impact on your gut health. So that one is crucial. And we know how bad sugar is. If you read any newspaper or anything, there are report after report after study after study on how bad it is for you. And there is nothing good with it. So this is not up for debate. Just try to cut out, eliminate as much sugar as you can from your diet. It will really make an impact. I'm not going to go more into detail on specifically what to eat here, but if you feel you need a template, I can really recommend The Bulletproof Diet by Dave Asprey. I will link to it down below in the resources section. It's absolutely fantastic to reduce inflammation. That is the whole focus on his diet. So you can use that as a template, as a starting point, and then make the necessary adjustments for your individual situation you're in. I hope that makes sense. And the last thing I want to touch on is supplements. I'm not a big believer in supplements in general, especially not synthetic isolates of vitamins or minerals like that, because the absorption rate is usually not very good. The effects on the body is usually not that great either. And we don't know the long-term effects and consequences of eating these regularly. So in my experience, it's much more beneficial to get everything we need from food. If we eat highly nutritious food, high nutritional density, then there is no reason at all to supplement. That said, if, for example, for convenience, or if you can't get hold of organ meats, then I would consider having organ meat powder, like dried and grinded organ meats in capsule form. That could be very beneficial for you to take, very convenient as well. If you have digestive issues and can't handle a lot of fiber, you might want to look into different solutions to get your fruit and vegetables in another form, so to speak. There are gel-like solutions, powder solutions on the market. You can start using to just get a shitload of the nutrients without any of the fiber. So look into solutions like that if needed. Apart from that, I would stay clear of supplementation in general. Fasting, my favorite topic. So if you take away nothing else from this course, please consider implementing some kind of fasting routine or protocol into your day-to-day life. The benefits are just too many and too massive to ignore at this point. Especially, both for your health, but especially for your immune system. When we fast, we induce something called autophagy in the body, which literally means self-eating. And that's the process of our body cleaning up dead cells, toxins, sick and diseased and weakened cells. Basically any unwanted material that otherwise would linger around in our body gets eaten and cleaned up and turned into just healthy building blocks for our body. So this is a fantastic, amazing process in the body that you will induce and support through fasting. If you just keep eating and eating and eating like most people do from the moment they wake up to when they go to bed, and they never give the body a chance to start this process of autophagy, so they never clean out all the dead, sick or unwanted elements from the body. Instead, they just stockpile it day after day after day, year after year, and eventually no wonder they get various diseases. So this is crucial for your health long term and for your immunity short term. There was a study, I will link to it in the resources below, on mice, where well-fed mice were injected with some sort of pathogen, and it took them 1 week to recover. Whereas fasted mice were injected with the same pathogen and they recovered in 2 days. So the difference here is substantial. Fasting can actually counteract and counterbalance the negative effects of a bad diet to some extent. So if you have periods of time where you eat worse, maybe you're on vacation or you're having a stressful period at work and don't have time to take care of, proper nutrition, then I really suggest that you incorporate a lot of fasting protocols during that time and after that time to recover and give your body both a cleanse and the best way to recover from that. During the Soviet era, the Russians actually did a lot of research on dry fasting and the positive effects it had on everything from arthritis to chronic disease to general state of well-being. I'll post a link to some of the research in the resources section. Just if you're interested, you can dig further into that. And obviously we don't have to go overboard and dry fast for several days to see the benefits here. A lot of people get great benefits from just intermittent fasting, going a day here and there without food or skipping breakfast once in a while, things like that. Dr. Rhonda Patrick has a lot of research on time-restricted eating, where you shrink the eating window during the day. So instead of eating during the whole day, you might compress it to 8 or 10 hours of food intake, so to speak. And that has profound effects on performance and health. So I suggest looking into that. Bottom line is just find something that works for you, your situation, your lifestyle, and stick with that. Okay? Don't make it harder than it has to be. This is not rocket science. It's just give your body some time to recover and recoup and do its magic. Movement and exercise, and the emphasis should be on movement here. Too much, too hard exercise can actually be detrimental to your immune system. It can actually weaken it over time. I'm sure you know, if you have exercised a lot, or if you know someone who is exercising heavily, I'm sure you know that they might be prone to infections like colds and stuff like that. And that is the body's way of saying, oh, we've had too much, time to take a break. So we don't want to overdo that part. I'm a big fan of high intensity exercise, but not every day all the time for extended periods of time. Like hours of CrossFit training daily might not be ideal for you or your immunity. So the focus should instead be on lighter exercise and movement that is sustainable long term. And a good rule of thumb here is that if you feel energized after your exercise, then you're doing it right. But if you feel drained and tired, then you probably overdid it. And you shouldn't do too many of those sessions every week. So spread those out. Once in a while, it's great to exhaust yourself completely, but not all the time. Most of your exercise and training and movement should be generative, should build the body up. I hope that makes sense. So that is one thing. And the second is try to get more movement complexity in your day-to-day. So take up some new activities, move in new and different ways. I mean, all this is easy to look up on YouTube or go to a class somewhere. Bottom line, don't just walk and jog and do the same movement over and over and over. It will benefit your brain health and your intelligence to actually start moving in new and different ways. And I also want to mention the importance of recovery. Mobility and stretching, it's not very fun to do always, I know, but it's so important, especially as we grow older. It's very important to oil the machinery in the sense of stretching and doing these mobility exercises that we know we need and feel better from. Especially if you want this body to work in a healthy, productive state until you're 80, 90, 100 years old, then you better start taking care of it now. So think long term here. And lastly, I just want to touch on the importance of sleep and getting some sunlight every day. So when it comes to sleep, the quality is what matters. We have different needs for how much sleep we need. That's individual. But we all need high quality sleep. And the easiest way to get that is, one, have a schedule, have a rhythm, go to bed the same time every day, wake up the same time. After a while your body will adapt, you won't need an alarm clock. It's just a very easy way to living. Try to cut out noise and light from your bedroom, have it dark, have it silent, and have a comfortable temperature. Not too cold, not too warm. And when it comes to sunlight, get out in the sun every day. 20 minutes is plenty. But this is how we produce our vitamin D. If you live in a dark country with long dark winters where you barely get exposed to the sun, maybe consider supplementation. I know I said that I'm against supplements in general, but in this case it could be beneficial supplementing with vitamin D. There has been studies done on sports teams who have done that during the off-season, and they have performed better, substantially better. So there is some merit to getting enough vitamin D. If you have to supplement, then do that. Let's have some fun. So I want you to look around in the room you're in or the environment you're in and look for everything that's brown. And I want you to memorize everything you can look at, everything you see that has the color brown. Please take a couple of seconds and do that now. And now when you're ready, just close your eyes. Like, keep playing this video, but close your eyes. And now I want you to recall everything in the room you're in that has the color blue. Not that easy, right? And that is the power of your RAS. It's something called the Reticular Activating System. And this is a function of our brains that help us filter out everything that's not necessary. So only the important information gets through to our brain. So we don't have to process everything. What this also means is that the RAS will continuously validate, it will keep validating our existing beliefs. And why is that important? Well, when it comes to immunity, negativity and fear-based thoughts are proven to downregulate our immune function. So we want to be very careful, very vigilant with what information we choose to program ourselves with. We need to exercise careful mental hygiene when it comes to what thoughts we actually allow through and allow ourselves to get programmed with and affect us. And I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but I just have to mention mainstream media and the news in particular. Just be aware that the news do not have your best interests at heart. Their business model is based on triggering the fear centers in our brains, so we will keep consuming more of their information in order to stay on top of things and try to get some sense of security and safety and certainty by consuming, reading and watching more of their information, which leads to more ad revenue for them. It's very simple. Another thing is negative people. If you hang around a lot of negative people, you might want to cut down on the time you spend around them. Negativity is infectious and it's very toxic. So try to cut down on that time and spend more time around positive people, consuming positive information, positive news. It's all a matter of choice. We can select and choose exactly what kind of information we consume, what kind of people we hang out with. we have the buffet laid out in front of us. We have access to everything. So we don't have to choose the negative parts. Everything is happening at the same time in the world. There is always something going on, and it's just a matter of what we choose to direct our RAS on. So the news and negative people are two of the major culprits when it comes to perpetuating these negative states, these fear-based thoughts. One more thing I want to mention is social media. The link between social media and depression is very clear now. And if you think about it, how often do you spend time on social media and leave in a positive, uplifted state? It doesn't really happen, right? So social media is also very good at inducing these like low-level states of misery, depression, that kind of thing. So you might want to cut down on that or avoid that or use it very deliberately. If negativity and fear lower our immune function, is there anything we can do to actually raise it and boost it? Yeah, there is. Laughter is the best medicine, right? It's a cliche for a reason. So there are an array of proven benefits of laughing, but in particular, there is a clear link between laughter and improved immunity, improved immune function. Another thing we can do to improve our attitude is to change our physiology. We know that when we feel bad, we're in a negative state, or we're sad or depressed, we tend to slouch down, right? This is not rocket science, but we tend to assume these kind of low depressive poses when we're sad. Whereas when we're really happy and outgoing and feel on top of the world, we stand more erect and we move with a completely different posture. This also works in the opposite direction. So we can actually, by assuming a physical pose with our physiology, we can actually influence our mind. So if we force ourselves to assume this posture and stand like this and walk around slouching and kind of miserable, we will start feeling depressed and miserable. Whereas if we stand up erect and straight, shoulders back and just open like this, we will feel happier, we'll feel better, we'll feel more positive and more energetic. So this is a very easy way to kind of force ourselves into a higher state, a more positive attitude, a more positive state. I hope that makes sense. Stress, the big one. When we talk about stress in a negative sense, we usually mean chronic stress, when we spend extended periods of time in fight or flight mode. And that's obviously not very healthy for us. So what we need to do is to find ways to cope with this, find ways to lower the proverbial stress bucket, if you will, before it gets full, before it gets overflowing, because then we have depression, we have burnout. So what we want to do is find ways to lower the stress levels in our stress bucket before it gets too high. Because when the higher it gets, the lower margin we have to deal with external stressors, whether that is more stress at work or some pathogen or disease that we're exposed to. So if we find ways to lower the stress bucket continuously, as we refill it, we just find ways to lower it again, then we will keep the baseline, the margin higher for what we can deal with. So how do we actually deal with stress? How do we lower the stress bucket? I will cover meditation and breath work a bit later, but first I want to give you a technique that you can actually use throughout your day-to-day whenever you feel agitated or stressed or angry. So whenever one of those unwanted feelings show up that make you more stressed or frustrated, try to catch yourself. First off, catch yourself in the moment. Oh, I'm feeling angry, I'm feeling stressed out, frustrated, whatever it is. Name the feeling and say it out loud. Like, I'm fucking angry right now. I'm so frustrated. Just say that out, and then don't feed that story any more energy. If you stop feeding that story, your body will stop generating those chemicals that produce the emotion you're feeling. I hope that makes sense. So the only thing that keeps the emotion going is you feeding the story of why you're right or why everybody else is wrong or why this always happens. Once you stop, your body will not produce those chemicals and you won't feel that feeling anymore. They will dissipate in about 60, maybe 90 seconds. So try that out. It can really help lowering your day-to-day stress levels. Another thing I want to mention is coffee. Coffee raises your cortisol, the stress hormone, and it's very bad for your immune response. I will link to a study in the resources section where people drinking coffee lowered their immune response by 1/3. If you have a lot of stress in your life, if you have a lot going on at work or a stressful situation at home, you might want to look at your coffee intake and maybe limit your caffeine consumption, at least temporarily. If you're interested in more details here, I can recommend Michael Pollan's book, Caffeine. It details his journey when he quit coffee for 3 months, exactly what happened, and he looks at it from a very objective view and brings out both the pros and cons of coffee drinking in general. So I recommend that book if you want to learn more in depth what happens to our bodies when we drink coffee. And then we have things like meditation, yoga, qigong, breathwork, that all are effective at lowering stress levels long term. Mindfulness meditation is so popular nowadays for a reason. It's effective at helping people deal with day-to-day stress. Breathwork, especially in my experience, is the most effective modality to immediately lower stress levels, boost energy, and just build health long term for a very low time investment. So what we're going to do here is that in the next video, I will lead you through a short guided breathwork session. You will breathe in beats to activate your parasympathetic nervous system and put your body in a state of rest and digest to lower your stress levels and increase your energy levels. And when you listen to it, you want to be somewhere where you're not disturbed for a few minutes, and you want to sit down or lie down, close your eyes and just follow the instructions, follow along in the breathing. We're going to do some easy and fun rhythmic breathing mixed with breath retention here. And this is a completely natural way to improve your mood, your energy, your creativity, and your brain and physical health. And this will increase the quality of your life very fast if you do it on a regular basis. So what we're going to do is breathe through our nose. Using your mouth is okay if you really can't breathe through your nose properly. But it's important that you make no pause between the inhale and the exhale. It should go like a continuous circle. In the first round, we will exhale for twice the time of our inhale to activate our parasympathetic nervous system so we can better cope with stress and anxiety and strengthen our immune system. This is followed by full breath in and full breath out, and then breath retention with empty lungs. And if you find that you can't hold your breath any longer, it's okay to take a short sip of air in and then just blow it out and continue holding your breath. In the second round, our inhale and exhale will be of the same length, and this is to stimulate our nervous system for more energy and vitality. And this is followed by a somewhat longer breath retention session. So try pushing yourself past your comfort zone. And if you really have to breathe, take a short sip of air in, hold for a second, and then blow it out and keep holding. And then we will end this with a deep breath in, hold that as long as we can, and then relax our whole body. And we only need to do a few minutes of this breathing for the effects to last for the whole day. So just make sure you won't be disturbed for the next 12 minutes. Either sit down comfortably or lie down and close your eyes. And now I want you to get ready to breathe in beats. We're going to breathe in through our nose on a count of 4. And then we're going to breathe out through our nose on a count of 8. So get ready, breathe out, get ready to breathe in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, in out, in, 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 out. Get ready to take a full deep breath in. Breathe fully in and fully out. And hold your breath for as long as you possibly can. What does it feel like having what you want? How do you want to feel? What does it feel like having the health, the physique, the immune system you really want? Go deep. Push past your comfort zone. How do you want to feel? And when you can't hold your breath any longer, take a deep breath in. Breathe out, relax, and get ready to breathe in beats. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. Out, 2, 3, 4. In, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, 2, 3, out, in, out, in, out, in, out, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, in, out, 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 in, out. Get ready to take a deep breath in and breathe fully in and fully out. And hold your breath for as long as you possibly can. Go deep. How do you want to feel? What does having what you want feel like? What does it feel like to have the health, the physique, the energy and the immune system you want? How do you want to feel? Go deep. What does it feel like having what you want? How do you want to feel? Go deep. And when you can't hold your breath any longer, take a big deep breath in and hold it. Hold it for as long as you can. And then relax, breathe out, and go back to normal breathing. And now I want you to look back and think about everything you have learned today. We started out with the premise of eliminating the worry and stress of getting sick. And we do this by building a body and mind that fire on all cylinders, our well-oiled human machine, so that all our defensive systems are working at a high level. We will be healthy, we will feel healthy, and we will look healthy. We then covered the most vital areas to improve our immunity, reducing chronic stress, improving our attitude, getting more quality sleep and more sunlight, and reduce inflammation through diet and movement. By being laser focused on metabolic health, everything else will take care of itself. The highest leverage strategies are to eat real, nutrient-dense foods and cut out sugar and seed oils. Fasting gives our bodies the time and energy they need to clean up and eat unwanted sick and dead cells, microbes and toxins, and radically improves our health and immune system. Movement and exercise should give us energy and a zest for life. We learned about the RAS and the importance of mental hygiene and being selective with how we program ourselves to avoid negativity and fear, which seriously compromise our immune response. We also talked about the important link between laughing and resistance to disease, and the power of posture to change our attitude. And finally, we discussed chronic stress and the importance of proactively making sure our stress bucket is as empty as possible. And lastly, I just want to touch on the importance of relationships and community for your health and well-being and for your immune function. You know the concept of blue zones where people live longer than anywhere else on the planet. The biggest factor to why they live so long is not what they eat or their lifestyle. It's their sense of community, how they live, how their relationships, like their family bonds, how they interact and help each other. So this, you cannot neglect this if you want a good, robust sense of health and a well-functioning immune system. Thank you so much for watching this. I hope it's been really insightful and that you're going to take these principles and concepts and actually implement them and use them in your life. And even if you don't agree with everything I lay out here, that you're going to keep testing, experimenting and validating for yourself and finding what works for you and your body. So with that said, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to reach out, get in touch, just email me, message me here, use the discussion section here in the course. And I wish you great health and success.